Hello, I'm Christine. Welcome to Book Talk. Today we are discussing When We Collided by EMERY Lord. So I've been working with Bloomsbury this month and they sent me When We Collided and I just finished it. For those of you who don't know, When We Collided is a contemporary. It's told from two points of view, the girl and the guy. It's a love story, but it also tackles a lot of different things like grief, family, and most importantly, mental illness. And it made for a really interesting story. It had super strong, interesting characters. Both our protagonists are 16, 17, but both of them have been thrust into really intense situations in their lives. Like Jonah, his father has just died and he's dealing with the fallout of that with his family. He has 5 siblings and 3 of them are younger than him. His world has been turned upside down. And Vivi, who's our female lead, is living with mental illness. And I feel like books like this are really important to read. It gives you this insight into what people dealing with mental illness are going through. That's the most amazing thing about reading, being able to put yourself in these people's shoes and really feel what they're feeling and understand what they're feeling and understand what their lives are like. And Vivi is one of those really interesting characters that will definitely stick with me. I feel like it's really given me a new insight into the world of someone going through what she's going through. I don't really want to say exactly what she's going through because I feel like that's a little bit of a spoiler. When I read I Was Here, that was another book that really opened up my eyes to a different perspective on mental health that I was completely unaware of. And I'm just really grateful that those books exist. This is a completely different type of story than I Was Here. I Was Here was kind of really sad. And When We Collided has its moments that are sad because our characters are going through tough stuff, but it also has really fun, bubbly, happy moments that really do balance out the story very nicely. I'd give When We Collided 4 out of 5 stars. I'm really glad I read it. When a story is told between 2 different perspectives, sometimes those perspectives are too close to each other and you can't really differentiate them. These 2 characters had very separate voices. There's a lot of really great imagery and beautiful writing coming from Vivi's end. And then Jonah, it's a completely different voice. And I really enjoyed his voice. I loved the family aspect of the story. It's so great to have a love story where the family is kind of involved. Like, you'll see when you read it. If any of this sounds interesting to you, I would definitely recommend picking it up. I think that's gonna be it for my non-spoilery section here. If you haven't read the book yet, you should leave now because I will spoil it. So go ahead, read it, come back, and then you can discuss the rest with us. Bye, non-spoilery folk. Okay, so When We Collided, like I said in the beginning portion of this video, I just found reading from Vivi's point of view to be really interesting, really eye-opening. Well, I've never read about a character dealing with bipolar disorder. I've known people in my life to suffer with bipolar disorder, but there's, all different types. I'd never seen anyone dealing with the same type that Vivi had been dealing with. To kind of see her mental state change as she went off of the pills. At first, I didn't realize what was going on. That chapter where she just couldn't focus on anything. She was following the numbers. I was scared for her and I did not see that crash coming. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I honestly was like, someone needs to help her. She needs help, and Jonah didn't know what was going on. Her mom didn't pick up on it. I'm so glad that she didn't die because for a second I thought that was where we were going because we saw she crashed right after Jonah got off the scooter. And from the very beginning, Vivi was just such an interesting personality. She's so actively on top of things. I loved seeing her interact with Jonah and his family. She was so good at pulling Jonah out of his grief cave and helping with everything. And she was also so confident. She's just such a creative soul, just like her mom. And then we have Jonah. I loved him scolding himself in the beginning when he tried to talk to Vivi and he'd give one-word answers. I thought it was hilarious. It was so cool reading from a chef's point of view. I've never read from the point of view of chef, and the fact that he would just be able to make her food all the time. Oh my god, it sounded so wonderful. I loved when he packed her that lunch. She found it outside the shop where she works and she's like, what does this mean? Is this a fatherly taking care of you lunch, or is this I'm flirting with you lunch? And knowing Jonah, we know that it's I'm flirting with you lunch. We go back to Jonah and he's like, crap, I just packed her a lunch. What am I, her dad? Oh my god, I would love it if someone packed me that lunch. It sounded absolutely delicious. And all the meals he made sounded absolutely delicious. I was just in awe. Seeing the 2 of them spend the summer picking up the pieces of his family and sewing them back together, and seeing her, even help Naomi on the beach. Naomi was cold toward Vivi. She just never gave up on her. She kept being nicer, and I love that. I love the character of Ellie. I absolutely love that moment at the end when Ellie came to the hospital to visit Vivi and was there with a basket of stuff and helped her do her hair and her nails and talked to her and opened up to her about her brother. You know, she's dealt with this sort of stuff before and she understands. I teared up with that part. It really was great to see these two girls bond. I loved Ellie. She was just a side character, but she ended up being really important to everyone. She was the rock for Jonah when he needed somebody. She was the rock for Vivi when she needed somebody. She's super strong. She's super on top of her shit. I want to see Ellie's story. Honestly, I'd love a story about Ellie. I'd love to get to know her more. She seems absolutely fantastic, and I wonder if there would ever be something between Jonah and Ellie. I really enjoyed, usually I don't like when the couple doesn't end up together at the end, but I really think it felt right in this book. I love the way it was described, like maybe we're just two planets and we hit each other at the right moment to spin ourselves back into orbit. That's not exactly how Emery Lord worded it. She worded it beautifully, but I think that perfectly described what was going on. They don't seem like a couple for life to me. They seem like the couple that needed each other in this moment and that really helped each other get themselves back to where they need to be. Like, I think this is the perfect title. I think my favorite part of the book is in the beginning when their romance was kind of just starting to kick off. I also really loved her birthday party where everyone dressed up as an animal, and I love that Naomi came and she was also dressed up even though we assumed that she wouldn't do something like that. I love the restaurant reopening at the end, and it's Vivi that pushed him to go for that. And the other time I cried reading this was at the end when Jonah came downstairs and his whole family was down there making breakfast and his mom was there and she said something to Silas about college and picking things up, and you know, she was getting better. She was seeing a therapist or a support group and things were on the mend. It was just great to see that family dynamic. Like, I honestly think my favorite character might be Ellie. You know, she just came out of the blue and was Wonder Woman for our characters when they needed it the most. I also loved Vivi's mom, and I loved when she was in the hospital when Vivi woke up and that little conversation they had about, you know, seeing the therapist together and moving forward with this together and being there for her. It was just really sweet. Please share your thoughts. I'm Christine. I'm at XTINEMAY on Twitter. I make videos every Tuesday. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!